Revealed, incredible 45-year-old's heartwarming journey from grief to redemption with his 17-year-old daughter. Mark Mitchell stood at the edge of his farm, the once lively fields now a reminder of laughter and a family that felt miles away. Since losing his wife, grief had become his constant companion, tighter than the connection between a battered American flag and its staff. Every sunrise poured more light on the ghost of her absence, leaving him feeling hollow as he toiled under the weight of his sorrow. And then there was Lily, their vibrant 17-year-old, her spirit dulled under the shadow of loss. The chills swept through the air as summer faded into autumn. Mark could see the changing leaves, but couldn't he feel the warmth of change? Instead, he felt the distance between him and Lily grow every day. Where they once shared smiles over coffee and swapped jokes, silence filled their home like a thick fog. Lily had started to pull away, seeking comfort in friends who couldn't scratch the surface of her pain. The heartache reflected in her sullen eyes matched his own, yet neither could find the words to heal the chasm widening between them. Mark would sit in the tractor, working the fields, the rumble of the engine drowning out any thoughts of expression. He was stubborn, a proud man who had fought battles in Vietnam and on this very land. But now, the struggle felt different. The community tried to rally around them, leaving meals at the doorstep and offering kind words, yet he shut out their efforts. Pride clouded his judgment. I can't let them see me weak, he thought. As nights turned to sleepless hours of tossing and turning, his heart reconciled with a fading joy. One fateful night, a misunderstanding escalated. Lily, feeling neglected and unheard, threw down her metaphorical gauntlet. She was going to stay with her aunt in the city. The words stung Mark in a way he didn't expect, like a blunt edge cutting through his self-made shield. You can't leave, he shouted, but the door clicked shut behind her. The empty house echoed his own heartbreak, reverberating through the halls that once hummed with life. As she stepped into the city's bustle, the noise swallowed her whole. She wandered among cliques of peers who moved like a fluid dance, oblivious to her quiet despair. She felt lost in the urban sprawl, the bright lights a stark contrast to the warm glow of their home. What I wouldn't give for a slice of apple pie at our kitchen table, she thought, stifling tears. Back on the farm, as kumquats ripened and the harvest festival drew closer, Mark stared at the once familiar fields. Each row of crops was a reminder of happier times. Just then, the smell of popcorn wafted through the air, mixed with the sound of laughter from families preparing for the festival. But his heart sank deeper. He feared losing Lily forever, a thought heavier than any barn he'd ever rebuilt. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Standing beneath the golden hues of autumn, he realized he had to confront his grief, had to reach out to Lily. The festival wasn't just a celebration, it was their chance for redemption, his lifeline to bridging the gap between heartache and healing. Could he find those words, that courage, before it was too late? The festival approached, and with it, a hope buried deep within them both, waiting to resurface. Mark stood in front of the mirror. The reflection staring back at him was weary and worn. Gray flecks speckled his hair, and the lines on his face spoke of sleepless nights and worry. He had to shake off the heaviness that clung to him like a damp blanket. Today was the day of the festival, and if he was going to reach out to Lily, even if it scared him, he couldn't let the darkness consume him. As he moved through the house, he felt each step echo in the stillness. The air was thick, every corner of the home a reminder of joy now shadowed by sorrow. He picked up the faded red flannel shirt she'd gifted him last Christmas, a small reminder of her presence. Just be yourself, he muttered under his breath, trying to garner strength from his own words. The county fairgrounds were bustling when he arrived. Vibrant colors surrounded him, crimson ribbons fluttered in the wind, and laughter spilled from children riding the Ferris wheel. The faint sound of country music drifted through the air, mixing with the sweet aroma of caramelized apples. Mark's heart showed moments of joy that felt almost cruel. given the absence that filled his own life. But he wouldn't turn away from it. Finding a quiet corner of the festival, he watched families gather. No one would know how tightly he held onto the hope that this gathering would help bridge the gap between him and Lily. He needed to make the first move, to show her that she wasn't alone. To show her that despite everything, he wanted to be there for her, just as he would have wanted if the roles were reversed. That a couple of weeks had passed since the argument, and each day without her had felt like a cold wind slicing through the empty fields. But it was time to put his pride aside. Mark scoured the crowd, searching for a glimpse of her familiar face among the throng of strangers and friends. Then, as if the universe had aligned to assist him, he spotted her. Lily stood by a booth, her auburn hair catching the light, and she was deep in conversation with a friend. But the smile she wore felt manufactured, a mask disguising the hurt he knew too well. His heart ached at the sight. It was the daughter he loved, yet the distance felt like an ocean separating them. He took a hesitant step forward, training his focus solely on her. For a moment, they locked eyes. A spark of recognition passed through the space between them. It was a glimmer of connection that made his heart race. "Lily," he called, the voice trembling slightly with emotion. She turned, her face a mix of surprise and hesitation. "Dad." There was an edge of uncertainty in her voice, as if she wasn't sure what to expect from him. "Can we talk?" It was simple, yet it held the weight of everything unsaid between them. There was a moment where time stood still, a heartbeat or two where the noise of the festival faded, and all he could focus on was the flicker of hope growing in his heart. Her eyes searched his, weary yet filled with some unspoken love. "What do you want to say?" she asked, crossing her arms as if to protect herself. He took a deep breath, gathering his thoughts. "I miss you, Lily, I miss us." As the noise of laughter bounced off the walls of the fairgrounds, Mark knew they stood at the precipice of something crucial. They could either drift further apart or find a way back to each other. He took another step closer, determined to express the depths of his heart. "Can we try to find a way through this together?" The festival continued around them, and it felt as if they were moving in slow motion, suspended between past wounds and possible healing. Would she open up? Would she allow the vulnerability to rush in like the harvest moon on a clear autumn night? The answer rested in the tension of her silence, and Mark braced himself for whatever came next. Lily hesitated, her gaze flickering between anger and a glimmer of hope. The laughter of children filled the spaces between them, yet it felt achingly distant. Mark could see the walls she had built around herself, thick and sturdy, but now they seemed to tremble ever so slightly. "Why now?" she finally blurted, the words spilling out like a river overflowing its banks. "You didn't care enough before." It stung. The truth in her words pierced through him like a dagger. He wanted to defend himself, to explain the weight of his own grief, but he knew this wasn't about him. He took a breath, steadying his heart. "I know I messed up, Lily." His voice softened, a plea for understanding. "I didn't handle things well, and I'm sorry. But I'm trying now, more than I ever have before." Her eyes began to soften. He could see the battle waging within her. Part of her was ready to forgive, to step back into the light, but the scars of their past were deep darker than he had realized. "Do you even know what it feels like?" She shot back, her voice shaking slightly. "I lost my mom too, you know. You've just been gone." The accusation hung in the air, heavy and painful. He nodded slowly. "I can't imagine what you've been through, and I'm sorry I couldn't see it, that I couldn't be there for you. But it's not too late for us, is it?" Lily dropped her gaze, fingers fidgeting with the hem of her sweater. The once vibrant festival felt like a backdrop to their deepening conversation, the joyful sounds muted by the enormity of what they faced. Maybe I just don't know how to trust you again, Dad." Her voice cracked, tears threatening to spill over. "What if you disappear again? I promise I'm right here." He took another step forward, closing some of the distance between them. "I won't turn my back on you. Not again." She looked up, searching his eyes for sincerity. "You have to mean that." "I do," he insisted, his heart racing. "Let us take it one step at a time. We can start with something small, anything you need. I just want to be part of your life again." Lily sighed deeply, the sound filled with uncertainty. Mark could almost see the gears turning in her mind, weighing his promise against the risks. He could only hope she would see his determination. "Okay, let us see," she finally said, her voice quieter now. "But I need you to promise to listen. Like, really listen. Deal?" The word slipped from his lips almost reflexively, but he meant it with every fiber of his being. Lily's expression softened ever so slightly, a small crack forming in the wall she had built. It was a start. The slightest bond flickered between them, a small ember in the dark. Just then, a burst of laughter echoed from the nearby carousel, awakening the atmosphere around them. Children shrieked with delight as the colorful ponies spun in circles. Mark's heart swelled with a bittersweet joy. In that moment, he remembered the innocence of childhood, the bond they used to share. "Want to ride the carousel?" he asked, trying to lighten the mood. Her lips curled slightly, a ghost of a smile. "We'd look silly, don't you think?" "Absolutely." He grinned, eyes sparkling with possibility. With a reluctant nod, she relented, and they moved toward the carousel. As they approached the colorful horses, Mark felt a sense of hope blooming within him, fragile yet beautiful. But just as they were about to step onto the ride, Lily paused, biting her lip. "There's one more thing you should know." His stomach knotted at her tone. What could she possibly say now that could change everything again? "What is it, sweetie?" She took a deep breath, her hands trembling. "I don't know if I can be the daughter you remember." As her words hung in the air like unresolved tension, Mark's heart raced. Would he be able to handle whatever revelation she was about to unveil? Would it break them again, or would it bring them closer together? In that moment, he realized just how fragile this new beginning was and how much he wanted to fight for it. Lily's voice wavered, a mix of fear and honesty swirling in the air between them. Mark felt the world around him still for a moment, the laughter and joy of the carnival fading like an old photograph. "I'm not that little girl anymore, Dad," she said, biting her lip as tears pooled in her eyes. "I've changed. I've had to survive." He stared at her, desperately searching for the right words. "I know. I mean, I can't go back to when you were small. I just wish what? That I could go back to being the daughter you left behind? That I could forget about all the times I needed you?" Her voice rose with each syllable, filled with a mix of anger and hurt. "Everything changed the moment you chose to walk away." Mark cringed at her words. They felt like a punch to the gut. "I didn't choose that, not really. I was lost too. I just didn't know how to handle it." "Lost?" Lily's laugh was bitter. "You weren't lost. You just disappeared. Do you think I'd be standing here if it had been easy for me?" He swallowed hard, fighting the feelings that threatened to drown him. "I never meant to hurt you. I wish I could take back the years we lost." Silence enveloped them, thick and suffocating. Mark watched as her shoulders slumped, a brittle armor slipping away. In that moment, he saw not just his daughter, but the young woman she had become, strong, stubborn, and aching for connection. "Look," she said finally, her gaze softening just a bit. "I don't know if I can trust you like before. Not right now. But maybe we can just start over?" A flicker of hope ignited within him. "Yes, we can take small steps. Whatever you need, I'm here." "Fine," she replied, her voice quieter but still uncertain. "How about we just enjoy the ride? The carousel." "On one condition," he countered, feeling bolder. "You promise to tell me what you really want." "I mean it. No more hiding." Lily hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Okay, but let us not make this too serious. How about we just focus on the ride first?" "Deal," he smiled, relief washing over him. They stepped onto the carousel, the painted horses bobbing up and down as the music played a cheerful melody. Mark felt a surge of nostalgia wash over him, a reminder of simpler days when laughter was the currency between them. As the carousel began to spin, Lily took the wooden horse next to his. She giggled slightly, a sound that warmed his heart, as if the ice between them was melting just a little. "See, not so silly," he said, the joy radiating through him as he watched her smile. The ride picked up speed, and laughter danced in the air. He could scarcely remember a time when they had shared such a moment. But in the midst of the joyous chaos, fear lingered on the edges of his thoughts. "Lily," he ventured cautiously, "when you said you've changed, what did you mean? I want to understand you." Her smile slipped for a split second, and he felt the air grow thick again. "Can we not into that right now?" She looked away, staring at the bright colors flying past. "Okay," he said quietly, but his heart thudded with the unspoken. There was so much beneath the surface, and he felt a mix of anxiety and determination. As the ride slowed, her expression turned serious, the laughter fading into something more profound. "Just don't give up on me, okay?" "Never," Mark replied, his voice steady. But as the carousel came to a stop, he wondered if he had the strength to keep that promise. What else lay beneath the surface that he wasn't prepared for? Just then, a child's laughter burst forth nearby, snapping him back to reality. Lily hopped off her horse and looked at him, a soft smile breaking through her worry. "Now what, Dad?" He smiled back, heart in his throat. "How about some cotton candy?" But as they walked, he sensed that the real sweetness would come from the truth she still had yet to share. Would it be a moment of joy or a revelation that would shake him to his core? He didn't know, but he was ready for whatever it would be. Mark led Lily away from the carousel, his stomach churning with a mix of anticipation and dread. Cotton candy floated enticingly from a nearby stall, but all he could think about was the promise of honesty they had just made. A bite of sugary sweetness didn't seem like the kind of treat that would fill the empty spaces between them. "Can I get blue?" Lily asked, her eyes sparkling as she eyed the colorful fluff. "Blue it is," he replied, masking his concern behind a smile. He felt like they were walking on a tightrope, balance precarious and uncertain. He hoped this moment of lightness might lead to something deeper. While she giggled as the vendor spun the fluffy confection, Mark couldn't help but watch her, trying to drink in every detail the way her hair caught the sunset's golden hue, how her laughter seemed to chase away shadows that had lingered too long. For a moment, it was easy to imagine they were just two people sharing a sweet treat, unburdened by the past. As Lily took a bite, the candy melted away, leaving a playful smile on her face. "It's still good," she exclaimed, her eyes bright. "I remember you used to get this for me all the time." "Yeah," he said, chuckling softly. "I loved watching the way your face lit up. Just like now." She hesitated but then leaned closer, as if considering whether to dig deeper. "You really thought about me? Even when, well, you know?" Her words trailed off, the sound of laughter from their surroundings bleeding into the moment. Mark felt a lump form in his throat. "Every day, Lily. Every day." A silence fell between them, charged and heavy. Her eyes searched his, searching for something buried far beneath layers of hurt. "What happened to you?" she finally asked, voice steady but trembling. "Why did you just leave us?" The question landed like a stone in his heart. He had imagined this moment, rehearsed a million apologies, a million justifications. But as he opened his mouth, he realized he had no ready answers. "I thought I was doing what was best," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "But I was scared of being a failure. Scared of making things worse." Lily's expression shifted, a new complexity emerging. She looked almost disappointed. "You were my dad. You were supposed to be there, no matter what. Didn't you realize that?" "I didn't I wasn't thinking straight," he said. "I thought leaving would protect you from my problems. It was the worst mistake I ever made." Her jaw tightened, and he noticed the shadows in her eyes. "You can't just say that and expect it all to be okay," she replied, her voice shaking slightly. "Saying sorry doesn't fix everything." "I know it doesn't," he murmured, looking down. "But I'm here now. I want to fix what I can, even if it's just a tiny piece." With a sigh, Lily glanced away toward the brightly lit carnival stalls. That's good, but it's hard to trust you. Hard to believe anything you say." "I don't blame you," he said, wishing he could reach out and pull her closer. "But I promise to work for your trust. One step at a time, I swear." The tension hung in the air, palpable and poignant. Just then, a nearby ride let out shrieks of delight, children racing down a twisting slide, carefree and jubilant. For a moment, that innocent joy told Mark of possibilities, yet they felt so far from him and Lily. What if I tell you something?" she said, her voice coming out soft and tentative. "Something I've kept buried." Mark's heart raced. "Yes, please. I'm ready." But just as he leaned closer, a loud commotion erupted nearby. A group of teenagers bumped into them, laughing and shouting, breaking their moment. Mark watched as Lily's expression shifted, eyes darting around as if seeking an escape. "Can we talk somewhere quieter?" she asked, her voice low. "Of course," he replied, feeling hope rise again. As they moved toward a less crowded part of the carnival, Mark knew he might soon hear something that could change everything. Would Lily's revelation lead them to a stronger bond, or would it unveil more fractures that seemed too big to mend? He could only breathe deeply and hope, knowing they were on the brink of something significant. As they walked, he caught another glimpse of her retreating from the emotions tucked away. What was she hiding? Everything felt unresolved. and he had to wonder, was he ready for whatever truths lay ahead? As they found a quieter corner, tucked behind a brightly colored stall selling glow-in-the-dark trinkets, Mark felt the chaotic noise of the carnival fade away. The lights twinkled around them, creating a makeshift sanctuary in the bustling fair. He turned to Lily, heart pounding in his chest, face to face with the daughter he had lost and desperately wanted to find again. "Okay," he said softly, trying to meet her gaze. "What do you want to share?" Lily shifted on her feet, the cotton candy now hanging forgotten in her hand, its colors shifting in the dim light. "I've been keeping something inside me for a long time," she began, her voice a whisper, almost drowned out by the fading laughter in the distance. "I don't really know how to say it." Mark's throat tightened. He wanted to reassure her, to reach out, but he held back, leaning in just slightly. "You can tell me anything, Lily. I promise." She took a deep breath, steadying herself. "It's just after you left, everything changed. I thought I was strong, but I wasn't." Her eyes glistened, the hope that once filled them now tinted with sorrow. "I felt like it was my fault. I kept wondering what I did wrong. If I had been better, would you have stayed?" "No," Mark interjected sharply, instinctively reaching for her hand, desperate to communicate his love and regret. "You didn't do anything wrong. This was my choice, and I messed up. You never deserved to carry that weight." The shimmer in her eyes flickered slightly, but she pressed on. "It's just, after you left, I tried to be perfect. I got good grades, I smiled, I made friends, but I was so lonely. I wanted you to come back, or even just to know that you thought of me." Mark felt his chest constrict. Each word she spoke cut deeper, dredging up emotions he had buried for far too long. He fought the urge to choke on his own guilt, wanting nothing more than to rewind the clock and be the father she deserved. "I thought maybe if I stayed strong, you'd notice and come back," she continued, emotion pouring from her voice like rain. "But then I realized I had to do it for me." "That's so brave, Lily," he said, a mix of pride and sorrow flooding him. "You've grown into an amazing person despite everything, and I can't tell you how proud I am." She looked up at him, and for the first time, he saw a glimmer of warmth beneath her hurt. "But it's tough to let someone back in after they've hurt you," she said quietly, a shadow passing over her face. "I'm not sure I can do it yet, even if I want to." "Then we'll take it slow." "I'll wait," Mark promised, feeling the weight of her pain reflected in his own heart. "Whatever it takes, I'll be here. You matter to me, and I'll do anything to earn your trust again. Just tell me how." Lily's lips curled slightly, a flicker of hope intermingling with the sadness. "I need time, a chance to know you again. Not the dad who left, but the one who's here now." Mark nodded, his heart aching with understanding. "And I'll prove that I'm worth waiting for. You have my word." For a moment, they stood in a fragile bubble of honesty, the sounds of laughter swirling around them. Mark dared to believe they were on a new path, one that held the potential for both healing and connection. But just then, the shrill sound of the carnival games reached them. A nearby vendor shouted at the excited crowd, and reality crashed back in, shattering their delicate moment. Lily's eyes darted towards the noise, and Mark sensed her retreat again, this time into a shell of uncertainty. "Maybe we should grab some food. It might take my mind off," she said, her voice faltering. "Sure," he said, trying to keep his tone light, even as a knot twisted in his gut. "We can try the corn dogs. They're a fair specialty." As they turned away from their moment of vulnerability, a question hung in the air. Would the talk they just had truly shift the foundations of their fractured relationship? Mark felt the pressing weight of the future. Trust couldn't be rebuilt in a day, but could a couple of corn dogs and laughter lead to something deeper? Did he dare hope for more, knowing how fragile things still felt? With every step, uncertainty mingled with hopeful expectation, and Mark couldn't shake the sense that they were only at the beginning of a long, winding road. What more would it take to navigate through the pain and misunderstandings? What lay ahead for him and Lily? As they made their way through the vibrant crowd, the scent of fried food wafted around them, mixing with the sounds of laughter and jubilant screams from the rides. Mark watched as Lily's eyes flicked between the excitement of the fair and their earlier conversation, a battle of emotions playing out on her face. "Over there," Lily shouted suddenly, pointing at a large banner announcing the next game. It was a ring toss, but with a twist. It featured stuffed animals of all sizes hanging from colorful hooks. "I used to love that game." A hint of her childhood joy shone in her voice, and Mark felt warmth spread in his chest. "All right, let us give it a shot," he said, feeling his own spirits lift with her enthusiasm. They approached the game, where a cheerful vendor beamed at them. "Welcome, welcome. Ring toss. Try your luck and win a prize," he called out. With her cotton candy forgotten, Lily reached into her pocket for some change. Mark could see traces of hesitation in her movements, but excitement propelled her forward. He stepped close, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Remember, it doesn't matter if we win. It's just about having fun together." She glanced up at him, searching his face, and finally gave him a small nod. The ring toss was simple. It required focus and a bit of luck. Mark watched as Lily took her first turn, her brow furrowed in concentration. When she released the ring, it soared through the air and landed perfectly around a hook. "I did it," she laughed, her voice brighter than he had ever heard it. The vendor clapped enthusiastically, handing her a small stuffed panda. It was a momentary triumph, but it meant the world to her. "See, you've got skills," Mark said, feeling the lightness in his heart expand. "Panda for the win." As they moved on to grab their corn dogs, Mark couldn't help but marvel at Lily's spirit. She was still navigating her feelings, but moments like this seemed to build a bridge, though fragile. They found a picnic table under a flickering overhead light, and as they sat down, Lily took a bite of her corn dog. A small smile appeared on her lips, and for a fleeting moment, all the heaviness dissipated. "Everything is so much better when you're here," she said, her voice barely above a whisper but heavy with sincerity. Mark felt a swell of gratefulness. "But it's still hard," she added, picking at the breading. "Can we keep doing this? Just spending time? No pressure?" "Absolutely," Mark responded, his heart racing. "I want that too. We can explore the fair, play games, have fun. Whatever you need." They finished their food, laughter and conversation flowing between bites. Mark soaked up her laughter, the joy on her face, carefully keeping the darker conversations at bay for the moment. Yet the shadows still loomed. He wished to address them soon. Still, for tonight, he wanted to savor these small victories as the carnival lights twinkled around them. Mark couldn't shake the feeling that they were at a crossroads. Looking at his daughter, spotting a glimpse of the little girl he once knew and the amazing young woman she had become made him ache with a mixture of pride and fear. Suddenly, Lily's gaze shifted, eyes wide as she spotted a booth selling memory lockets. "Dad, can we look?" The eagerness in her voice melted his heart. "Of course," he replied, standing and holding out his hand. As they made their way over, Mark felt a rush of hope. They were taking the first steps towards building their new connection, but uncertainty flickered in the back of his mind. What if that connection was just as fragile as the memories they were about to share? "Dad," Lily's voice pulled him from his thoughts. When he turned to her, he could see something important brewing behind her eyes. What if the memories we choose aren't just the good ones? The question hung there, heavy and unanswerable. Mark took a deep breath, ready to dive into a discussion he knew they would need. Was he ready to tackle the full spectrum of their history? Would facing the hard truths help or hurt them? Together, they walked toward the booth, where light glimmered off the lockets, each one holding the promise of shared stories and healing. And maybe the chance to face their past together, if only they could find the strength to open up. Lily's eyes danced over the display of memory lockets, each one uniquely crafted, catching the soft glow of the carnival lights. The excitement she had just felt began to mingle with uncertainty. Mark could see her weighing each option, each locket a reflection of a moment they could capture, yet so many memories stood shrouded in shadows. "Look at that one," she exclaimed, pointing to a delicate silver heart, adorned with tiny engraved flowers. "It's beautiful. It could remind us of today." Mark blinked back, the emotions swirling within him. "That would be a nice one to keep," he agreed, but he felt the heaviness of unspoken memories whispering between them. Lily picked up the locket, cradling it in her palm. "Can we put something inside it?" Her voice was small, as if she was afraid of the answer. "Sure," he said, though inside, he felt a chill creep over him. "What do you want to put in it?" "I don't know, maybe a picture?" She looked up, searching his eyes. "We could take one right now, or something that reminds us of each other." "Yeah, a photo sounds good," he replied, but her last words lingered like a weight. "Something that reminds us of each other." Mark's heart raced as a thought struck him. What if the locket was meant for more than just the good times? What if it was a way to acknowledge the hurt? The memories they had begun to share were beautiful, but did they dare to delve into the pain they both carried? Lily, he started, unsure, what if we used the locket to remind us to keep talking? Not just about the happy moments, but everything. She looked pensive, her brow furrowed. Are you saying to put the bad memories in there too? I think so, he replied gently. It could help us understand each other better. The good and the bad. It's all part of who we are. For a moment, she was silent, absorbing what he said. Mark held his breath, hoping to see understanding in her gaze rather than fear. I want to remember the happy times, Dad. But maybe you're right. Her voice was steady now, filled with a courage that made his heart swell. We can't run from the bad stuff forever, can we? No, we can't, he said softly, feeling a renewed sense of gratitude for this moment. And besides, it wouldn't be fair to only hold on to the good. They're all pieces of our story. Lily smiled warmly, her eyes glistening with unshed tears, and it struck Mark how beautiful she was, both in joy and in vulnerability. He took a deep breath, felt the weight lift a little. It's okay to feel both. Let us just make sure we're honest with each other as we go. Promise? She asked, her voice thick with emotion. Promise, he replied, wrapping his fingers gently around hers. With a sense of unity blooming between them, they decided on the silver heart locket, a tangible symbol of the journey they were embarking on together. As they made their way back to the photo booth, laughter echoed in the air, and Mark couldn't remember feeling more alive. No matter what the future holds, he thought, we're in this together. But just as they reached the booth, his cell phone buzzed in his pocket. The sudden sound cut through the moment, grounding him back into the reality he was trying so hard to escape. Hesitating, he pulled out his phone and checked the message. His face fell. The message was from his sister, and it broke the fragile joy they had just crafted. Mom's getting worse. Mark looked at Lily, caught between two worlds, the present moment with his daughter and the heavy burden of family troubles looming over him. Dad. Lily's voice broke through his thoughts, concern in her eyes. Is everything okay? He took a deep breath, drawing on the newfound strength from their shared moment. I need to take this. Just give me 1 second, okay? She nodded, her expression shifting to one of worry as he stepped aside. But Mark's heart pounded with dread at the thought of what this call would mean for their day. For each step forward, it felt like he was being pulled back into the shadows. He glanced over his shoulder at Lily, who was still holding the locket with hope written all over her face. Could he balance the struggles of the past with the joys they were trying to build? As he answered the call, a small voice in the back of his mind whispered the question he had been dreading since the fair began: how much longer could they truly hold on a hope together? Mark stepped away from the laughter and the lights, forcing himself to focus as his sister's voice crackled through the speaker. Mark, it's getting really hard for her. You need to come home soon. The urgency in her tone twisted his stomach like a knot. Okay, I'll come as soon as I can, he replied, trying to keep his voice steady. He could feel every word weighing down on him. The thoughts of his mother, sick and fading away, clashed violently with the precious moment he was having with Lily. He barely understood how to process both at once. He ended the call and stood frozen for a moment, fighting against the tide of emotions threatening to pull him under. Thoughts of his mother, lost in her own struggle, rippled through him. How could he be there for her? How could he be there for Lily at the same time? When he turned, Lily was waiting, the locket still in her hands. Her face, once alight with joy, had transformed into a mask of concern. Dad, you look upset. What happened? Mark felt his heart break a little as he took in her worried expression. It's about your grandma. She's not doing well. The color drained from Lily's face. Is she going to be okay? I don't know, sweetheart. Mark knelt down to her level, his hands on her shoulders. I just need to figure out what to do. For a moment, he wondered if he should shield her from the reality of their situation. But he remembered their promise to be honest. He nodded, searching for a way to ease her fears. She's a fighter, just like you. You know that, right? Lily nodded slowly, tears welling in her eyes. But it's not just the happy memories now, is it? No, he sighed, feeling the weight of truth settle in. There are tough moments too, but we can get through them, together, Lily. Just like we talked about. Can we use the locket to remember her, too? She asked quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. Mark was taken aback by her resilience. Absolutely. We can put a picture of her in there. And maybe something that reminds us of all the fun times you had. As understanding washed over Lily's face, she managed a small smile. I do like that. Mark felt a rush of gratitude. This little girl wasn't just his daughter, she was a mirror reflecting his own strength back at him. If they could remember both the joy and the sadness, maybe they could find a way to cope with it all. Let us take a picture right now, he said, pulling her into a hug. She wrapped her arms around him tightly, and for a moment, he felt the heat of her love wash over him. They made their way back to the photo booth, their steps lighter, the locket glimmering in the carnival lights. As they slipped inside, Lily pulled away and turned to face the camera, her expression a mix of hope and determination. Click. The photo captured a snapshot of resilience amidst uncertainty. As they waited for the picture to print, Mark felt a flicker of warmth break through the shadows. Maybe, just maybe, they could navigate this labyrinth together. Just then, his phone buzzed again, bringing him back to reality. This time, it was a video call from his sister, and a knot formed in his stomach again. He glanced at Lily, her eyes bright and eager for the next step. Hold on a sec, he said, swiping the screen to answer. But what he didn't expect was the face of his sister, eyes wide with urgency. Mark, you need to see this. As the call connected, Mark's heart raced. What revelation would follow? Could it shake the fragile hope they were just beginning to build together? Mark's heart pounded in his chest as he stared at his sister's worried face on the screen. He could see the urgency in her eyes, the quiet storm of emotions swirling beneath. What is going on? He asked, a knot of anxiety tightening in his stomach. She's in a lot more pain, and the doctor, but before she could finish, Mark felt Lily's hand slip into his, grounding him for the moment. He turned slightly, catching her worried gaze. Is Grandma okay? She whispered, her voice laced with unspoken fears. Mark swallowed hard, trying to mask the truth from his daughter. Let us just see what your aunt has to say, he replied, hoping to reassure her. But just as his sister's voice broke through the chaotic noise of the carnival, filled with urgency and heartbreak, Mark felt the sunlight they were standing in begin to fade into shadows. We need to make arrangements, Mark. It's getting serious. You should come home. As his sister continued, Mark's mind drifted through memories. The time spent in that family home, filled with laughter and warmth, suddenly felt like a distant echo. Each word she spoke felt like a nail, adding weight to the silence that had been quietly building between him and Lily. Can we talk later? I'm with Lily right now, Mark interrupted gently, pressing his thumb against his daughter's hand. Okay, but please don't take too long. As the call ended, Mark was left standing in that flickering light, tears pricking the corners of his eyes. Lily immediately sensed the shift, her hand still holding onto his, strong yet trembling. Dad, she began, and he could feel the weight of unspooled truths hanging in the air. It's not good, he confirmed, his voice choked with emotion. Grandma, she's not okay. He saw Lily's spirit waver, her bravado slipping just a little. The smile that once flickered on her face dimmed. But we just started to fix things. Why now? Her voice was soft, hurt spilling over like a dam that had finally burst. I know, Mark responded slowly, holding her gaze. But this is part of life too. There will be good days and difficult days, just like we talked about. With trembling fingers, Lily wiped her tears, and for a fleeting moment, soft understanding passed between them. What do we do? Mark paused, feeling the swell of determination build within him. Let us do this together. We can take our time here at the fair, make our memories, and then we can visit her together. Lily nodded, her eyes bright with resolve. Okay, but I can't breathe if everything just falls apart again. I promise, I won't let that happen, he vowed, realizing the truth of his own promise. He felt her grip tighten, faith slowly returning. Taking a deep breath, he pulled out the locket they had just chosen. The destiny of their journey held within that small silver heart. How about we add a picture of Grandma too? A memory of her strength? He suggested, his heart racing with the realization that they could honor their past even as they faced uncertainty. She blinked, visibly processing his suggestion before a small smile began to form. I want her to know that no matter what, we're still together. We'll make new memories too. Mark felt warmth flood through him, deep gratitude for this resilient spirit standing before him. Yes, that's exactly right. We're creating our own chapter. Together. Walking back to the photo booth, they captured a photo that enveloped both joy and worry. As the camera clicked, Mark felt the burden lighten, just enough to remember that they were not lost. Each step forward mattered, no matter how small. Moments later, laughing families swirled around them in a blur of colors and laughter that seemed far away, yet right beside them. As they waited for the print, he looked down at Lily's hopeful expression and, in that instant, something clicked. "Lily," he said, causing her to meet his gaze, "this isn't just about us, or even Grandma. It's how we choose to face everything together. We're brave enough to build something strong from what we've lost." A shy smile crept onto her face. "Okay, then let us build something great." The printed image finally popped out of the booth. It was imperfect, but it held the honesty of their current moment. Placing the photo gently inside the locket, Mark found peace amid the tumult, knowing they were forging a new path ahead. As they resumed their place in the carnival, Mark felt by Lily's side that they could weather any storm together. "What is next?" she asked, a spark of mischief returning to her eyes. "Let us try that ring toss again," he chuckled, nudging her playfully. With joy bubbling up between them once more, Mark released a breath he didn't even realize he was holding. They stepped forward, hand in hand, ready to embrace all the uncertainties that lay ahead, their bond once more unbreakable. A journey of healing and renewal awaited them. Hope awakened within them, the night stretching long with possibilities. Together they could face anything past, present, or future. And with that powerful realization, Mark smiled, knowing that love, patience, and understanding would nurture their family, no matter the challenges ahead. Now it's your turn to take action. You need to subscribe now to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that will fill your heart. Leave a like right now to feed the algorithm and keep these heartfelt tales coming. Comment below with your emotions about this ending and share how it made you feel. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible transformation. Your support means everything to us.